Hey guys, and welcome back. Man, it's been a while since I've come to you guys. I swear. I think it's probably been over a month, and I took a break from doing my live videos because my last two videos, live videos that I did, they had bugs in them. So I was just like, hold on, wait a minute. Maybe I shouldn't do live videos, and so I had stopped for a while, but yeah, it's been a lot that has happened since the last time I actually did one of these live videos, and I'm so happy, so grateful that things are progressing in my personal life, especially in my professional life. For many of you guys who have been following me, you guys know that I am approaching my 4th year of my PhD program out here in Los Angeles, California, and it has been a long, intensive journey, to say the least, and I'm just grateful. So thank you guys so much for your support. I'm thinking about, should I take my hair down? I think I am though. I'm gonna multitask during this video, but yeah, I've been thinking about just taking this down because I had my plaits in for a while. So yeah, I'm pretty much approaching my last and final year of coursework in my PhD program in Los Angeles out here. And sometimes I have to check myself and ask myself damn, this is the end. You made it. I mean, it's been, y'all, it's been a long journey. For you guys who have not been following my page, you guys can go back and watch my earlier videos that I made. I started a whole series on being a doctoral student, so check out my YouTube channel for that. But yeah, it's been a long journey, and now I'm actually approaching my final year before I start my full-time pre-doc internship. It's been amazing. And I thank you guys so much for your support, because I realize how much you guys have been there to support me along the way. I mean, sometimes more than my family. I realized that I've gotten through this whole entire PhD program with minimal financial support and even emotional support from my family. So it has been quite interesting, to say the least. But I've done it. I've made it, and I'm excited and I'm grateful. And guys, yesterday, as I was heading home from, thanks Sergey, I was heading home from my practicum working at the hospital. I checked my email, which I do pretty frequently, and I got an email from my institution's IRB, which is the Institutional Review Board that every researcher pretty much has to go through, especially if they're doing research with human subjects or participants. So I checked my email, and I got an email from them saying that my study had been approved. And I was just like, thank you. It's like a huge relief for you guys who are studying towards, a doctoral degree. You guys know the amount of pressure and anxiety and stress that we have to go through in this whole process of completing a dissertation towards our PhD. The dissertation is pretty much like a research study, and very intense, very involved research study that we have to complete before we are granted our PhD, our doctoral degree. So that's pretty much the stage I'm at right now. So the final stage of my PhD program. Thank you guys so much for your support. It's amazing, This journey has been one interesting journey. And maybe when I get to the end, I reach the very end of my studies, I'll probably do a summation video, a recap on all of the fun yet challenging times that I've had as a doctoral student, because it ain't always been peaches and cream. It hasn't. But the point where I'm at right now, I think I told one of my colleagues that I think I'm at a point right now that I can kind of put at least one foot up, right? And kind of kick back and exhale just a little bit. Not too much, but just a little bit. I think my first 2 years were the most stressful and the most challenging years that I've had as a doctoral student. And my third year was kind of stressful, but I think that I had become more adapted to it by that time in my third year. And then now that I'm approaching my fourth year, I'm like, I got this. This is the last leg of the marathon. You know, it's not a sprint. We always have to remind ourselves that, like, it's not a sprint. You know, it's definitely a marathon. And there are moments where I found myself just kicking back and having to do a lot of self-care. That's really important. I know we talk about this in healthcare, but oh my gosh, as healthcare professionals, like, self-care is so important because we can get exhausted, and especially in this program, like, the demands that they require of us, you know, as doctoral students. It's like, it's not only just coursework, you know, we're doing a dissertation, we're seeing patients, you know, in very challenging situations. Like, it can be a lot having to juggle so much at one time. On top of that, having to, you know, deal with our own personal issues that we're facing, you know, in our individual lives. So, what's going on here with this piece of dread? But yeah, as you guys know, like, when I first moved to Los Angeles, I moved here from New York City in 2016. And I wasn't single. I was actually in a relationship, you know. And I was just telling somebody else that I was talking to. By the way, you guys, I just got oil. I just got out the shower and I put oil on my body. But I was telling someone the other day how it's interesting how I moved here. I was in a relationship and I got 1 year into my doctoral studies, and I guess the relationship couldn't stand. You know, we had already been going through a lot of things, you know, in that relationship, and we just ended up breaking up, you know. And my colleague was like, "Did he leave you?" I was like, "No, he didn't leave." I think it's just kind of common thinking to assume that when a woman and a man breaks up, that it's the man that left the woman. But no, like, it was a decision that we both came to. It was a very hard one, but it's something that needed to be done. And I think since then, y'all, I think my hair, do I have to cut my dread? But yeah, it's like something that we both had to, you know, come to make a decision on. And then from that, I think I realized that I've been more productive and obviously more focused, like, on my studies than I would have been if I was in a relationship. And granted, I have been dating since then, you know, like, but I find myself just getting annoyed, easily annoyed, I think, and having very little patience, you know. And I tell myself, like, well, maybe I should date someone who's, like, on the same path as I am, so they can understand. Because people who aren't training to become doctors, you know, like, just some people just don't. You guys just don't understand, you know. We get it, you know, because of the things that we have to go through. We share this, you know, similar experiences, but people from the outside looking in don't get it. And I've had somebody tell me, "Oh, I understand college can be difficult." I'm like, dude, I'm not in college. I'm in a doctoral program. This is much different than college, you guys. College, a lot of students just breeze on through college, right? Professors sometimes don't really challenge students, but nah. Y'all, they put us through the ringer. It's a professional line of study, which obviously requires higher expectations of students, and so it ain't easy. It's not easy, but lo and behold, you know, I'm kicking through it, and I'm making it do what it do. And so, being that now my research study has been approved, I can go ahead and begin to recruit participants for my study and begin my data collection, which I think can be pretty challenging, but this is what I do. I mean, I'm not new to this, you know. I think I'm pretty good at marketing and engaging people and promoting myself. So with that, I know it's going to be probably time consuming, but I think it's going to be a much easier, because when I first did this study, it was back in 2017, I believe, and it was a pilot study to this one. So, you know, I had only been in Los Angeles for a year. I was living in Hollywood, California, which makes a huge difference than where I'm at now. I'm actually living in South Central LA, so I have a direct connect with the African American community out here. Whereas in Hollywood, I was new to California, and I'm just like, where are the black people? I had no idea where the black people were in LA. Even though I had been sightseeing and kind of been around the city, I still was just like, where are the black people? I think I went to I Googled and I found this so-called black mall in South Central when I first moved here. It's called Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall. But even when I went there, it wasn't that many black people in the mall. It was like mostly Hispanic. And so I'm just like, where are the black people? Hard to come across. Until I went to this event. This is the thing about using these little rubber bands. Sometimes they get tangled, stuck on my freaking hair. But I stumbled across this Pan-African Film Festival when I came out here, and I was just like, okay, I guess this is a black community. But outside of that, like the event itself and going to the mall, it's like I was like, where are they? You know, because of course you guys know that I like to be centered within African culture, African American culture, and that's important to me, especially moving from a place like New York City, where the black community is very easy to find, easy access. Out here, it's just like there isn't much of a community. I mean, there are cliques and there are like certain events that are targeted towards the black community, but in terms of a community, I'm thinking of like a neighborhood, right? Like a geographical place where predominantly African Americans live. I haven't really seen that in Los Angeles. I've seen, you know, integrated neighborhoods where you have a mixture of African Americans and mostly Hispanic, some whites. You know, even where I live, it's supposed to be like considered the black neighborhood or the hood. Some people even call it like the Crip neighborhood or whatever, related to the gang. And I'm like, I don't see that. You know, I see a mixture of working, middle class, black and Latino, and even some white people out here. So that's interesting to say the least. But in terms of recruitment for my study, I think that it will be a little bit easier this time around compared to when I first did the pilot study. And by the way, for you guys who are wondering, like, what is my topic? Well, most of you guys already know because I did a video prior to this talking about my whole process of applying to IRB for approval. But my topic is on Black identity, which is a topic that I became very interested in and immersed in my very first year as a doctoral student. I was taking this class, intercultural processes class, and we were learning about the different ethnic identity models that are used in working with clients, and, you know, being able to be sensitive to their ethnicity and their different cultural identities. And so I initially, when I first learned about the cross-identity development model, was supposed to be like the primary person in researching ethnic identity. By the way, he's white. I think if you guys Google him, you'll see. Give me a second. If you guys Google him, it's funny because when when I Googled him, it said that he was African American, and I'm looking at this man. I'm just like, no way he can be no dang on African American. I mean, of course I know there are some African Americans, who are lighter complexion, but this man clearly looked white to me. Y'all can look him up yourself. I'm like, he has to be white. But his name is William E. Cross, and he developed the Cross Racial Identity Scale, which I think it was back in the 1970s, which he developed it during the post-civil rights era. But yeah, since I became exposed to that identity development model, I was just like, you know what? That's what I'm going to study. But outside of that, just considering like the racial context in which we live in our society and all of the police killings and, police brutality, I was initially inspired to do research on implicit racial bias in police officers. And so when I presented the idea to my professor at the time, he didn't seem to be convinced that I would be able to do that kind of study. He was like, that's going to be very difficult to gain access to police officers. And I'm like, you think? But that's what I initially wanted to do. I think if anything, his reason for dissuading me not to do that study was more so for political reasons than anything. I think that's what it really was about, because we all know that racial bias exists in everyone, right? But I think in assessing racial bias, it brings awareness to the participants who are involved in that study, Like, we all need to be confronted with our own implicit racial biases. It's implicit because we're not necessarily aware of it. Ooh, that oil. But I'm blessed with multitasking. Well, I try to be. But thank you guys for your support. Like, I didn't get discouraged, even though that he had kind of told me, you know what, I think you should do something else. I didn't necessarily I kind of did, honestly. I did kind of get a little bit discouraged, but I still had hope in knowing that I can be able to research something that I think was going to be very important, very vital to the Black community. And I decided to do implicit racial bias in children, which is a construct that has been heavily researched in the past, but I'm bringing it to the present. And I'm not only looking at implicit racial bias in children, but I'm looking at that as a dependent variable. So my predictor variable, y'all probably like, what in the hell is she talking about? This is something that's really passionate to me. For you guys who are science geeks, you guys know what I'm saying, but my predictor variables are identity, Black identity, and acculturation. So I'm looking at those two constructs as predictor variables of implicit racial bias in children, which I believe are directly related to each other. Because who's the one who's raising the child? I mean, children are exposed to many different things. Obviously media plays a role, but parental upbringing, I think, has a heavy influence on children's attitudes, social attitudes, and perceptions, and parents sometimes aren't aware, like, the influence that they have. Children are like sponges. They soak up things that the parents say, do, messages that are communicated on a conscious and unconscious level are soaked up, by children. And it's interesting, when I first did this study as a pilot study a couple years ago, when I was assessing implicit racial bias in children in front of their parents, by the way, which I think is a really important caveat to my study when I did it 2 years ago, was that the parents were just like so surprised that their children, their little innocent children, had a pro-Euro bias, you know, and an anti-black bias, meaning that they endorse more positive attitudes towards the white race and more negative attitudes towards their own race, you know, because I was working with African American children out here in Los Angeles. And these parents were just so surprised and so shocked. And I'm just like, it is what it is. But I think it's important to catch it early on than for the child to go through their stages of development, because the more they develop, the more those attitudes and perceptions are ingrained into their psyche. So it's definitely good that, you know, I'm doing this study now, and especially working with preschool children, pre-literate children. This is before they even enter into grade school, before they even enter into kindergarten. So yeah, I'm excited, being that I just got my approval through my institutional review board to do the study. And the purpose of the IRB is that they want to protect human participants, you know, from harm, making sure that they're safe anytime that a researcher is doing study with human subjects, human participants. You know, they have to go through this ethical review board process to make sure that you have certain measures in place that are going to protect the participants and make sure that, you know, I'm not trying to coerce them or do any harm to them. So it got approved, you guys. It was a kind of a long process. I initially submitted my application May 20th, and it was kind of like some back and forth. But, you know, most of it was pretty much clarifying what it is I was going to do, my procedures, different things I had in place, you know, in case adverse reactions happen, you know, I think I got them all, what I had in place. So yes, I'm excited to go forward with it. Somebody asked me, is this my natural hair? Dude, Mark, you know good and well this is my hair. Y'all need to stop that shit. Y'all need to stop with those microaggressions. I actually had a client, Asian client, asked me that same question yesterday. Is this your real hair? I'm just like, seriously? Seriously? Do this look like weave? I mean, y'all done seen me put dye in my hair. Y'all done seen me retwist my hair. Come on now. Is this my real hair? On that note, yes, I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to moving forward with this study and going out to recruit my participants. It's going to be, I think, a little bit of a challenge because of the way I'm going to collect my data. I mean, it's in person, you know. A lot of my colleagues, my classmates, they chose online methods of data collection, which is much easier because all you got to do is put a survey online and people fill it out and boom, you got your data. But with me, mine is going to be in person, which I think lends itself to more qualitative information gathering in addition to quantitative information gathering. So I'll be able to not only just, you know, see what their responses are to the questions I ask, but it's like how they respond to the questions. And I think that, you know, it provides more information. It's more rich information that I can be able to use in my data analysis. So I'm looking forward to being able to do this study and, of course, bring you guys the results, which will come actually, hopefully by the end of this year. I'll have all of my data collected and my data will be analyzed and I'll be able to deliver the results. I defend my dissertation in the spring of next year. So yeah, this last year is like, it's going to be amazing because number one, I have several things going on at the same time. Several important things going on at the same time, including not only my dissertation that I'll be doing, but I also have my last practicum placement, my very last practicum placement that I'll be doing. What is my neighbor doing? Like, seriously? But I have my very last practicum placement that I'll be finishing up this upcoming year. And so I just told my colleague, like, I'm just tired of working for free. Because all of our practicum placements are unpaid, unfortunately. And then we go into our pre-doc, which is a full-time paid internship. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. I'm getting ready to apply for my pre-doc internship this fall. So, happy sailing. But I'm going to end this video. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will be back in touch with you guys, I don't know, pretty soon. I mean, a lot of you guys follow my page and you guys, you know, see my posts, but I haven't really been going live like that, I guess, because I kind of been iffy about this whole Facebook platform and going live, because sometimes they have issues. But yeah, so I don't know, we'll see if I go live anytime. But I am in the process of actually developing a treatment for a documentary that I'm going to do on my research on Black identity, acculturation, and racial bias. So yes, I'm excited about that. Like, it's just all coming together, and I'm just happy that I am approaching my final year of my doctoral studies. And before you know it, before you guys know it, I will be done. I'll have my degree in hand, and I will be a psychologist. But it's funny because I have a lot, speaking of identity, it's like looking at my own personal identity development, you know, ethnic identity development, but also professional. Like, I have so many different identities happening within me at the same time. So not only am I developing as a psychologist, but I'm also developing as an entrepreneur, which I've started long before I began this PhD program. So just a lot. Then also I'm a writer, you know, author, a lot of things that I'm juggling. But thank you guys nonetheless for your support, and hope you guys have a blessed Saturday. I'm going to get out of this house, get me some sun on my skin, and I don't know, probably go get my nails done, because yeah, they're looking kind of rugged. All right, love you guys. Smooches.